Now I'd like to speak with you about what should not be. Some people have said that certain developments should not be. For instance, you may have heard of people protesting against something. You may have even protested against something. There could be many kinds of protests. There could be mass protests of large groups gathered together with a lot of noise. There could be private, silent protests in which I refuse to speak with some particular person, perhaps wishing that, in response to my withdrawing from them, they might apologize to me. Maybe after something had already happened, we protested the fact that it happened. Or maybe during some ongoing process, we protested that ongoing process. Or maybe before something happened, we protested against the possibility of that happening. Or maybe something did not happen, and we protested against the fact that it had not happened at all. There may have been protests against a request to take another bite of peas or broccoli, or against a bedtime that seemed too early, or against the fact that I did not get a cookie yet. There may have been protests against taxes, like the protests led by Gandhi in India, or the protests in Boston in the 1770s. Some protests are made against certain acts of organized violence by governments. For instance, there may have been a time when many thousand people were killed by just a few other people. There may have been protests against attacks on Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and other invasions, revolutions, and civil wars. There were some explosions on a certain day in September of 2001. There were buildings damaged and destroyed. Many people died. Some say that it was a conspiracy. Others say that it may be just a coincidence, that in only a few hours there were more than a few deaths relating to a few planes and a few buildings. But can these so-called coincidence theorists prove that it was all just a coincidence? And if it is possible that it was not just a coincidence, and may have even been a secret conspiracy by a few people, then to what lengths might those people go in order to keep their conspiracy secret? Might they ridicule coincidence theorists and publicize a conspiracy theory that could be true? What if multiple groups celebrate the event and claim to have caused it? What if all of them are lying? And the ones who really knew in advance are now saying, "We are terrified by this tragedy, but it may have only been a coincidence." Could we have been instructed in what should be and what should not be? Could we have been instructed in what to protest? Could we have been instructed in what to reject, what to ridicule, what to resist, what to accept, what to believe, what to support, how to react, what to think about and worry about and hope about? Could other people have attempted to impose upon us their agendas of what to deem important? Could they have promoted to us patterns of how to vote, and how to consume, and how to borrow, and how to invest, and how to think, and how to speak English? Perhaps we have been instructed to protest against certain acts of violence, such as by a slave against their master. Perhaps we have been instructed to protest against all acts of violence. Perhaps we have been instructed to protest against certain acts of deception, such as by a business. Perhaps we have been instructed to protest against all acts of deception, even by government spies in wartime, on all sides of a conflict. However, if a politician sincerely believes a lie that she is telling, is it still an act of self-deception? I promise that our enemy is hiding its plans to smuggle Colin Powell and Benedict Arnold into their country and force them to seek political asylum for protesting against peace, global warming, and birthday parties. Perhaps we have been instructed to protest against certain acts in which an item is taken away from us. My sister took my cookie. My mortgage lender took my house. My grandson took my nap. My neighbor took my job. My enemy took my picture. My friend took my wife to the airport. My priest took my donation. And then she said that I might not go to hell after all. What if what should not be is simply what may have been, but may not be any longer? What if what should not be is what should be?